Before I start this video, this is a huge disclaimer. This video is not meant to send attack dogs on Yandere Dev. I don't personally believe in harassment of any kind unless it's someone who literally hurts children, animals, or anything like that. Cause I mean, should you really be nice to someone who hits their dog or assaults children? No. Obviously not. I'm saying all of this because Yandere Dev and his loyal fans have a hard time figuring out the line between hate and criticism, which in all honesty, I don't know why so many creators struggle to find the line between that, but I'll explain later in the video. This is not a video to spread hate or misinformation, as he calls it, as I'm sure he or his hardcore fans will undoubtedly think just by this video's disclaimer, but I just want to say this because I have a feeling it'd be used in some kind of Hate and Shame 2 Electric Boogaloo video, because we all know that's coming after Osana. Anyway, today I'll be sharing my final thoughts on Yandere Simulator. Roll the intro and let's get started. Now, a lot has happened in the 3 years since my last video. I mean, a lot. Several big-name YouTubers have covered Yandere Dev, from The Right Opinion to some ordinary gamers, and there's been a lot to cover and think about with Yandere Dev and this series. From allowing inappropriate emojis for the game server, which is choke full of 9 to 14-year-olds, threatening copyright claims on critics who call him out for his toxic behavior, threatening to sue fan games, and multiple other offenses that many YouTubers have talked about. It's definitely changed my opinion a lot since my last video. That's what happens though. Things do change as time goes by. I mean, living is all about change, so I don't think it's wrong or weird of me to change my mind since my last video. Yandere Dev has claimed that it is incorrect to say that anyone can make his game in slightly over 2 weeks. That's just not really true. His reasoning was that he had to wait for assets and animations while they used, quote, existing assets for Yandere Simulator, when a lot of those assets are not tied to Yandere Simulator. Ayano, Raibaru, and Senpai's models can be purchased from the Unity Asset Store for about $30 each, with several animations also available for purchase at the Unity Asset Store for various prices. By the looks of this fan game, from my own personal opinion, which I will not name as to prevent Yandere Simulator hardcore fans from attacking these poor kids, it's made from base Unity assets rather than, you know, stealing it from the game with minor volunteer help. Again, rather than assets from the game. Even if they did, to prove that you could code the base and current game of Yandere Simulator, they're teenagers. I mean no offense when I say this, but if you feel intimidated and threatened by teenagers making a fan game while you are nearly twice their age, you need to look deep down inside yourself and severely fix who you are. Because I'll be honest, it's weird and just very immature to be intimidated by some teenagers who made a fan game. He recently showed through YouTube videos, including the Right Opinions video, which was as mature and unbiased as humanly possible, that he still cannot handle the difference between a hateful comment and criticism. Well, I don't know if he'll ever listen to it because I don't know if he's capable of changing his views anymore. I'll at least tell you guys the difference between someone being an asshole and offering genuinely helpful advice. If I drew a picture and posted it on the internet, I may get comments like this.
This looks like shit.
You're a dumbass for thinking you can draw. It looks alright, but the line art could be better. Looks pretty awful. Maybe try a different art style or look at references.
Bro, have you heard of shading before?
Maybe try drawing with your other hand. While some comments may be a bitter pill to swallow because not everyone can offer criticism nicely, they're still criticism and you should listen to them. As an example with me, people say my voice is fucking annoying, but I can't change that unless you rip out my vocal cords and put in someone else's. But if someone said my Vocaloid cover sounded off or the BPM wasn't right, I'm gonna listen to it and work even harder on the next one to make it sound better. Even if they were rude about it or whatever. I mean, personally, I don't think the criticism comments I get are rude. They're actually very nice. I'm just saying, like, even if someone was rude, it's criticism and I'll take it. When you're doing something creatively, you have to learn how to take criticism. Not just on YouTube, DeviantArt, or anywhere, but life in general is learning to take criticism. If you're at work and someone points out that you have a shitty personality, maybe work to be a better person so you don't eventually get fired for being terrible to work with. Next is the fact that this game essentially took 6 years of development to finally reach demo or beta status. Yandere Dev has contradicted himself several times in why this game has taken so long. His first excuse seems to be that people were emailing him too much. The next was that he was the sole programmer on the game, and finally it was taking so long due to volunteers taking too long to do anything. Now, in my 3 years since that video, I have been involved in a lot of projects. You can see my projects and collabs videos on my playlist on my channel if you want to see them all, but basically, I know what it's like being in a project run by a bunch of people who are pretty bad at working on big projects. It sucks and it's definitely frustrating, especially when you were excited for it. Heavy word of advice for people who want to volunteer for other people's projects, by the way. Please don't volunteer unless you genuinely believe you will have time for it. From personal experience, it's irresponsible and irritating for everyone involved. Just make sure you have a reasonable schedule for yourself and double check that you will have time for this project. Otherwise, it's not very nice. However, despite him now blaming the volunteers, I can't imagine that can be an excuse that lasts long. From a video in 2019, he mentions that he was waiting for the final animations and models needed for Osana's biggest rival elimination method, which is befriending her. I'm assuming he was waiting an entire year for the animation in the end scene where Osana and Ayano talk together, which the title screen in the beginning basically confirms that he waited a year and never received it. So I have to ask, if you are making a game which you call AAA status, why would you wait a year for animations when this is a project you want done at a reasonable and professional level? You can say he's running out of volunteers due to the quote, hate he's getting, but it's not actually that. Sleep TV, who made a video venting out his frustrations working with Yandere Dev, along with my other YouTube buddy I know named Captain Beanie, admitted that he worked with Yandere Dev and it was very frustrating. He spoke about how Yandere Dev is a very unfocused director to work with and he tries way too hard to constantly fix his own PR instead of developing the game. To me, that's not an environment I would want to be in as a volunteer, and if I were involved in a project like that, I would drop out pretty much immediately. In all honesty, if he made one video just expressing his side and that was it, and he quietly continued his work peacefully, then I think the backlash behind this game wouldn't be so bad. Maybe the code wouldn't be so bad because instead of being hyper paranoid over hatred, he'd think clearly and listen to people who say his code is bad. Which, yes, his coding is not great. I've learned quite a bit about coding since that video, especially since I am a Bethesda fan and I've had to learn a lot of programming to figure out why a bug is happening in Fallout 76 or Skyrim. I also have quite a few friends who work in programming and quite a few friends who are working on game development. So I can confidently say that Yandere Dev's coding is not good and he needs to learn a cleaner code in order for this game to have less bugs and be fully functioning. This segues right into the game itself. Within the first week of Osana's build, players have already figured out all the endings within a couple of hours, and there were some pretty game-breaking glitches. I saw one where it was someone trying to eliminate Osana via the fan, and the prompt to open the lid just didn't come up. The RAR file that the game's launcher was in was also corrupted, so you couldn't unzip the folder, which was pretty ridiculous and extremely unprofessional to me. Like, when I distribute VSQX files for Vocaloid covers or roleplay icons for Tumblr, I always double or triple check my zip folders just to make sure they're functioning, because it's kind of unprofessional to make a zip folder and it's broken. So Another one was Osana spinning in circles after an important cutscene, students slide across the ground instead of walking, the AI regarding getting caught is extremely buggy, the game speeds up cutscenes for no reason, the audio and dialogue you've already walked away from will still play as though you are still there talking to them, and several cosmetic glitches like hair and clothes. One particular thing I noticed is that the audio quality sometimes was terrible. I noticed in scenes that Yandere Dev showed himself on YouTube were actually pretty good quality, but a large majority of the audio quality is borderline abysmal. The quality honestly sounds like everyone recorded it on their old phones or laptops, which I know isn't true since Ayano and Osana's voice actresses are professional who own studio quality mics like myself due to their profession. My only theory right now is that something involving Unity or C# can't handle audio recordings above a certain level of gigs, so he has no choice but to lower the quality to either get the engine or script engine to accept it. Obviously, I'm not sure. I haven't heard audio quality this bad since The Cat Lady. Great game, by the way. And it's honestly really strange. If the game itself didn't have any glitches and actually did match the quote AAA quality he wants, I still do genuinely believe this game has a lot of potential. While I do not like the trope of a yandere, I love anime and assassin-like gameplay, so I think this game has a lot of potential to be extremely fun. The guy really does have a great creative mind, and it's honestly sad to see it all go downhill. Like, all he has to do is just take criticisms, be nice, understand he does have an audience of mostly children whether he likes it or not, and overall just learning to be a better person. My final thoughts on Yandere Simulator is this. Yandere Dev is a creative person. He does know how to come up with great ideas for a game, but he isn't the best person either. As creative as he is, while he can sometimes be nice to his fans, he is more often than not someone who can't handle criticism very well and seems to prefer the idea of being a YouTuber or influencer rather than being a game dev because of how much he wants to focus on his PR rather than developing the game. And when he does accept criticism, he will blame everyone else around him except himself, which to me is very immature. Who cares if someone came out with a concept before you did? Does that stop fanfic writers from making the millionth coffee shop AU? Did that stop the devs of Hollow Knight because Symphony of the Night came before it? Does that stop Yooka-Laylee because Banjo and Kazooie came before it? Did that stop Celeste because Super Meat Boy came before it? No, it didn't stop any of these indie games because they had directors who were confident, creative, passionate, and professional with the game they wanted to make. You said yourself, Yandere Dev, that Persona 5 and Hitman are your major inspirations for Yandere Simulator. So by your logic, that means you shouldn't make the game at all because it's showing that stealth and anime games are, quote, too easy. Besides, do you know how many fan games out there exist from indie to AAA? Scott Cawthon actually helps Five Nights at Freddy's fan games financially and even helps them get in contact with companies so they can make their own merch. Yume Nikki is a game known for having an endless amount of fan games. That's just so silly to be so defensive over a fan game made by some kids who like your work. Overall, Yandere Dev needs to change a lot, and I don't know if he can. I always believe people can change, I genuinely do, but maybe he's just one of those who can't, or at the very least struggles immensely. It's been 4 years, and he just piles on excuse on top of excuse. When you fuck up, hold accountability, even if it's shitty to do. When someone is criticizing you, even if they're saying it rudely, suck it up and listen. If some teenagers make a fan game, let them make the damn fan game and give them a thumbs up. Most of all, apply yourself, dude. Wake up in the morning, take a deep breath, and actually focus on your work instead of making the millionth video addressing something about you from like 10 years ago. One final thing. Change the name of some of your NPCs, please. My waifu is kind of funny, but English words typed out in a Japanese accent is like really cheap and borderlines on my immortal levels of bad. There's plenty of really great baby name websites for any country in the world. I actually use them when coming up with OCs I make nowadays. Well, this has been my final thoughts on Yandere Simulator. I know it was a little all over the place, but I tried my best to make the video flow consistently. Please don't ask for another video on Yandere Simulator after this. I'm seriously never touching this game again on my channel. I've said my final thoughts. There's a demo, which means fans have something to cling to. I do genuinely mean it when I say I am never doing this again. All Yandere Simulator critique videos is just bringing up the same points we've all been saying for years at this point. Either Yandere Dev listens to the criticisms and we have a steady game development that's genuinely good, or he continues to spiral into unwarranted paranoia that'll only lead more fans, patrons, and volunteers dropping like flies. If you guys have seen everything there is for Yandere Dev's whole situation, you do you and whether or not you plan to support him. Personally, I'll observe, but I won't be very vocal on the game. Maybe if the game is fully complete, I'll post a meme or something on my Twitter, but I am not going in circles with this, and that's honestly what this drama has become at this point, is just a circle that keeps going back over and over again, and frankly, I don't like circles. Least favorite shape. I hope you guys enjoyed the video though. Let me know down below your thoughts on Yandere Simulator or Yandere Dev and this whole mess of a situation. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. And if any older new subs would like to help support the channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who would like to help with video ideas or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, then I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!